Still in finding ideas of form and concept, some systematic guidelines and teachings methods are still relevant, I think. So, for example, Kandinsky's Punkt, Linie, Fläche, they are a rich example of methods of form education. You took a closer look in the Bauhaus books, and the Bauhaus books were published in the 20s are still, and they are online on the web for sure, because there are no rights. It's really kind of an enormous kaleidoscope of design education. We are mostly modifying themes of the old Bauhaus methods, not only, but for specific using smartphones and also programming, creative programming like processing or touch design is also one software we are using a lot, brings a little freshness in the themes, and you can make also changings in the systems of the manifest and of the theory of the Bauhaus. So one example is that if you know the color theory of Joseph Albers, and Joseph Albers spoke about the mother color, the father color, and the children colors. So, and we made one course where we opened the system to adopting childs. So it means we are changed complete the color system of Joseph Albers with the course. It's one aspect of practicing design is, in my point of view, is how designers are thinking. And this is completely different from other artistic media. So here you have a process of improvisation, and these process of ideas of improvisation are often not in a linear order. So it's about jumping from one idea to the other, and overall there comes a process, and this process generates something. There's also a theory behind this. It's called wicked problems, and the wicked problems is a unique practice for creating design, and it's super interesting to making research about these things. So how designers are thinking and why ideas are coming out with these systems. I think for sure from Gropius' case of Gesamtkunstwerk, and the goal that everything of visual culture means everything is linked to everything. And this came together as a kind of big all together composing. My favorite sentence from Gropius. I think that an image stand for itself could be also completely misinterpreted, because when an image losing the context of the media, so for example, you cut out an image of a newspaper and put it in another position, it can be go in a completely different direction. So yes, an image can be really can't stand for itself when you're losing the context. At this time, we try to develop an own visual language, which was an own, let us say, besides the choreography, that the poster was really their own artworks and their own graphical ideas. The translation between the 3 dimensions of choreography and the 2 dimension of a poster, of an image, for example, was very helpful. That William Forsythe came from the background from an US art director. So his dad was an art director in America. and he have a kind of very good eye for advertisement and graphic design, etc. And this helps us very good the whole time we work together. I think it's one more media, and we should absolutely look positive of the expectation of these. Time is changing, and also modeling with new tools the visual world. We have video art today, we have virtual artworks. All of a sudden, it's an enrichment. So as one example, comparing to cooking is when you look 100 years ago, that you had only local spices for your kitchen. And via traveling of people around the world, the richness came from other areas from all over the globe. And you have a much more diversity in spices as one example. So it's enriches extremely cooking. And this is what I say is also with new media, haptical and virtual media, it's helpful for developing a very young discipline. The essential part in our culture have a lot of to do with displaying information, and information, it could be for navigation, for wayfinding, for traffic, for advertising in the consumer world, etc., packaging and food. Interesting on this new electronic billboards, you can also use them for other purposes, and this is a kind of much more interesting thing. So there's one example. So and I think it's worldwide in every city. So via stress situation in cities, the billboards took over by the police normally. So they can cut the advertising and to look it over. And there was one example. So in the, maybe you remember then 2016, 70s in Seoul, Korea, was this president called Park Geun-hye. And there was massive protests from the people against her. And there was daily 1 million protesters on the street. And the police took over all the electronic billboards and guided the protesters through these demonstrations. At the end of daily 1 million people, there was no dead people, no injured people. It was really kind of super peaceful. It's a good example that you can use this in a positive way also for other purposes. I think looking in the DNA of your own history should be the main goal. Understanding yourself, understanding your history, and be careful while translating in visual language that you're not work in historic phrases. And you look by translation of your DNA to look contemporary. For sure that every country or region is based on their own visual culture, have mostly to do with their specific history. I will see that this has to do with climate, with global position, with sunlight, etc. What I see was super open-minded. So. And it was very fresh in a way, because this has to do with how we thought in these few days of workshop when we entered this botanical garden. I think you see this also referencing to Peter Musfeld. You see this also especially when you look on the design for the Galapagos Island from him. you see that this is a kind of, it looks fresh even after 40 years. Peter was, in my point of view, a perfect hybrid between the Western world and the visual thinking of the Western world and the colorful world of Ecuador, this area. So this is this kind of, if you look at the murals he made, that's the best example. So the richness and the friendliness, etc., was really kind of breathing the mentality of Ecuador. And I think what I discovered, that his influence was enormous on the design scene in Ecuador. So at the same time also, this is also a thing for the future, I think, that when he started to work with the Inca symbols and translated them to the graphic design world, and this would be perfect for further graphical development in the future. And this is really part of your DNA, of the DNA of the area. And Peter started with this thing. It's really beautiful.